despite having a million more important things to be taken care of right now, Donald Trump continues to talk about making Canada the 51st state. To which outgoing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has responded, "There isn't a snowball's chance in hell." A sentiment echoed by his likely successor Pierre Poilievre, as well as Jagmeet Singh, the leader of my political party. And Green Party leader Elizabeth May was also dismissive, but took a slightly different approach.
But maybe California would like to be the 11th province. How about it? California? Oregon? Washington?
In all seriousness, though, the proposal is incredibly unpopular among Canadians, with most polls showing somewhere between 80 and 90% saying outright no. But there's still an interesting conversation to be had here, because as much as we like to talk about how dramatically Trumpism has changed what it means to call yourself conservative, changed how conservative ideology is conceptualized among Americans, it's done the same thing to Canadian conservatives too. And it's not just that Poilievre is an anti-immigrant, anti-intellectual, populist politician who spouts nonsensical catchphrases just like Trump, although that is true. But that sort of populist move is happening with conservative politics everywhere, right? What I find interesting, though, is that there was some doubt that Poilievre was ever going to make this statement. And political pundits in Canada were actually quite surprised that he came out as strongly against Trump as he did. The reason being that the populist conservative movement that we've seen spring up in the last few years, as much as it likes to drape itself in the Canadian flag, is by a significant margin the most likely to actually say they would entertain the possibility of becoming American. That's 1/4 of conservative voters and nearly half of the far-right People's Party of Canada, suggesting that the more conservative a Canadian feels, the less Canadian a Canadian feels. Which might come as something of a surprise to a lot of Canadians, because we tend to associate the Conservative Party of Canada, conservatism as an ideology, not just with Canada, but also with Britain, with the monarchy, with even empire. British monarchs have, after all, tended to find their strongest allies among conservative prime ministers. NDP and Liberal members of Parliament are the ones who have looked to sever those ties. That, however, is no longer how things shake out. Interestingly, though, this transformation isn't as sudden as this 51st state discussion might lead some people to believe, though it still seems likely that Trump might be the explanation. The group Citizens for a Canadian Republic notes that this shift started around the time that Trump was first elected. And so it seems fair to suggest that the shift in Canadian conservatism away from the monarchy, away from Canadian patriotism, is toward something like Trumpism. That may look like wearing a Canadian flag today, but for many Canadian conservatives, that could mean waving an American flag tomorrow. I think it's going to take us a very long time to catalog, much less understand all of the ways that Donald Trump has radically realigned politics.